Does the new Terrifier film live up to the hype? Here's my review of Terrifier 3. It's been 5 years since Sienna, played by Lauren Levara, and Jonathan, played by Elliot Fulham, have survived Art the Clown. Both Sienna and Jonathan have become somewhat minor celebrities among the true crime aficionados, and Jonathan has to deal with his new fame while attending college. And Sienna is just out of a psychiatric hospital and wants to enjoy Christmas with her friends and family. Sienna pretty quickly starts seeing things, and she can't escape her past no matter how much medication she takes. She is convinced that Art the Clown is nearby, and she is convinced that he will terrorize her again. Okay, I will just go through all of the kills in this film because I really didn't care much for the story. The opening scene of the film is set on Christmas Eve, and Art the Clown, he breaks into a family's house and he goes upstairs and he goes into the little boy's room and he starts hacking him with an axe. And we don't actually see this happening, we just hear it like, and then we assume the boy is dead. And then Art the Clown, he walks into the parents' room and he walks up to the bed while they're sleeping and he starts hacking them with an axe and slicing them into the head and cutting off their body parts. And yeah, that's the first scene of the film. And then later on, there's a short scene set in a correctional facility, and one of the prison guards, he goes into a room and we see Vicky and Art the Clown. There's a dead body on the ground and they're both like chewing on the body, and like Art the Clown, his head is like detached and he's chewing on the head. That's a very short scene early in the film. And then later on in the film, there's a scene set in an abandoned house. There's these two men they're hired to, I guess, demolish this house, and they go into the house, and Vicky is lying in a very dirty old bathtub in her own blood, pretending to be dead. And then one of the men walks up to her, and she wakes up and starts stabbing him with, well, I think it's like a sharp piece of glass. And then the other man, he meets Art the Clown. Art the Clown is like pretending to be dead, I guess, and then he wakes up and he starts slashing the other guy with an axe, and he kills him. And then while he's doing this, Vicky walks into the room and she has like the sharp piece of glass and she puts it under her dress and she starts masturbating with the sharp piece of glass while the Clown is killing the other guy, and you can see drips of blood leaving her dress. And then later on, there's a scene in a bar where the Clown, he walks past the bar and he looks inside. You can see there's a Santa Claus inside, so he goes inside the bar. He starts making friends with the guys in the bar, and then he sits on one of the guys and he pees on him, and then there's a big fight between Art the Clown and the other guys, and then eventually Art the Clown, he takes out a gun out of his bag and shoots all of them. There's a scene at a shopping mall where all of these kids are getting photos with Santa Claus, and then Santa Claus, he takes a break, and then Art the Clown, he comes in and pretends to be Santa Claus and sits down on a chair, and then gives away all these presents to the kids, and then he gets kicked out for being a fake Santa, and then one of the presents that the Clown gives the kids is a bomb. So one of the kids, he opens the box and bang, big explosion, and a few of the kids pass away. Okay, the next scene is probably the scene that everyone will be talking about about this film. It's Art the Clown, he goes into this kind of gym shower, and then there's two college kids that are having sex in the gym shower cubicle. Art the Clown, he walks up to the cubicle, he opens the door, and he starts slashing both of them with an axe, and then in the face, everywhere, cutting off their arms and ears and all their body parts, going everywhere, blood going everywhere, and then the girl is dead, and then the guy is on the ground in the gym. He's trying to escape, and the clown catches up with him, and he comes up behind him. He runs the axe all up his ass crack and splits his body in two, and then he turns his body around, and he puts the axe right up in the middle of his body, in his crotch area, and splits his body into. The final scene of the movie, Sienna and her friend that they're tied up, and Art the Clown smashes a feeding tube into the other woman's mouth, and he feeds a live rat into the feeding tube, and the rat goes into her mouth, and then he slits the woman's throat, and then the rat comes out of the throat covered in blood. And then eventually Sienna becomes loose, and there's a fight between her and Vicky and Art the Clown. And Vicky, she gets her head cut off, and then Art the Clown escapes. And that's the end of the film. Terrifier 3 is directed by Damien Leone, who has directed films such as All Hallows Eve, Frankenstein vs. The Mummy, and the previous two Terrifier films, Terrifier 1 and 2. I have not seen the previous Terrifier films, so I cannot compare if this one's better or worse, or if the gore and the violence is more extreme or more tamer than the previous two films. I don't mind extreme gore in my horror films. I've watched a lot of gory films, and I don't mind it, but if it services the central plot of the film, then I don't mind the extreme gore. But in this film, all of the attacks by Art the Clown just seem like random encounters that have nothing to do with the story at all. In this film, you're not attached to the characters. You're not scared because you know what's going to happen. You're just kind of like, oh, okay, that's gross. But it just doesn't really leave any kind of impact. It's kind of just popcorn entertainment. I've seen horror films with extreme violence from Asia and Europe, and those films are well made and have well developed characters and interesting stories. So when the violence comes, it really hits you, and it's really memorable because you're invested in the story and has a lasting impact. And there's no reason why this film needed to be 2 hours long. It becomes so repetitive and slow. It's just the main character, Sienna, she has troubles dealing with her past, and she has like a flashback, or she has like a psychotic episode, and then the next scene is Art the Clown having a random encounter with killing somebody, and then we go back to Sienna and then go back to Art the Clown, just over and over again. It's become very repetitive. And the film takes 1 hour and 40 minutes just to finally unite the main character and Art the Clown, and then once they reunited, this film just ends. And there's during the middle section of the film, there's about an hour where nothing happens. Film just focuses on Sienna and her story, and then there's no gore, there's no violence. So even if you're coming into this film just to see the gore and the violence, then you have to be very patient. There's a lot of slow parts. I give Terrifier 3 1.5 stars out of 5. I just think the violence and the gore is just there for shock value. It doesn't really service the story. The plot's very uneven. I just think it's better to wait for this movie to come on streaming, and just you can skip to the good parts. yeah, I didn't really like Terrifier 3. I have no real inkling to go back and see the previous two films, and I have no real desire to see any more of the Terrifier films. They're just not really for me. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video. See you next time. Bye.